Sooners of Oklahoma at 12-0 and still looking for respect nationwide.
What is going on, Sooner Nation? Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Barry and Mac Show. As always, myself, Barry, personal trainer, sports homes coach out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and alongside me, former Sooner wide receiver, 2000 national champ, Mr. Damian Mackey. How are we doing tonight, D-Mac?
What's up, B? It's good to see you again, man. It's a
Yeah,
long time
man.
no see.
Yeah,
We
been a
back in
crazy
the
one.
saddle. Back in the saddle with my partner in crime. We got a big game tomorrow night.
Facts.
Happy Halloween to everybody out there trick or treating. I'll be home, staying up on my my health journey. I went to the doctor's today. The doctor said I have the health of a 36-year-old. I'm 45, so
That's excellent,
all
man.
my vitals were in good shape. The young lad, she said, "Oh, you're very hot." I said, "I know. If I didn't have the salt and pepper, you might think I'm 35 if I didn't have the salt and pepper." No, I'm kidding. But I got a clean bill of health, which was very good. Man, I ran 7-8 miles the last 2 days. So just
Good
really,
deal, man.
I'm grinding that out. Running is my new thing in the gym, but running is my thing. It's respiratory, all that good stuff, staying healthy. Shout out to all the guys on the live. Looking forward to chatting with you guys. And man, let's go win tomorrow. I feel like there's a recipe to win, bro. We got to do what we got to do, but there's a recipe to win.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, man. We'll kind of put the Ole Miss thing to bed and apologize for some of the content lapse to everybody. I know stinks. You guys want to hear. Do go check out DMAX 10 Thoughts on the game if you have not seen that. Go over to OU Insider, ouinsider.com. Get yourself a membership over there. But the Ole Miss game, we'll put it to bed and park it here. It was a game that Oklahoma should have won. OU has the players, the talent at some of the positions to get the job done in that game. But overall, the coaching, decision making, bad penalties, just everything that you don't want when you're within a one possession game seemed to happen, along with a massive turnover at the end of the game. So, DMAC, I say all that to ask you this. How does Oklahoma, this team, this version that is only 2 losses, and we said if this team is 2 losses by the end of the year, they're going to be in contention for a playoff spot. I'm not saying that that's the goal at this point. I know Sooner Nation doesn't necessarily feel like that. Right now is just to win each week. But for OU to go out and win, DMAC, to not make the same errors that have been made in games so far this year. Auburn, they got lucky at different times, right? Jackson missed some guys that it could have been a different game. Ole Miss beats them, right? South Carolina, OU never could quite put South Carolina out of their misery like it felt like they should have. What do they need to do in this game now, facing possibly the stiffest competition yet in Neyland Stadium against Tennessee? Night game, raucous crowd. We've seen it before back in 2015. What do the Sooners, the players, and the coaching staff need to do to fix those ways to win this game?
I usually don't make the game unilaterally dependent. I think that's the proper word to use. Barry, you brought up the Auburn game, and we did get lucky because Jackson just missed Coleman. He had beat coverage. The double move on the puppy. He runs by Guillory. I'm talking about the other puppy, 12. He runs a double move on 12 and is 5 yards behind him. He beats Cortland on another fade route, and he's got another yard on him, and they miss. And you're right, we got lucky. I think the flip side of the coin is Ole Miss got lucky. And whether you're of the Damian Mackey belief of, I believe to this day, and a lot of people tried to change my opinion, but I haven't changed it. I believe Arbuckle was the biggest issue Saturday. And I will talk to, I mean, I hear the other guys who pod said what they had to say, some of my ex-teammates, which is fine. Obviously, we've heard the pressers. The fact of the matter is it's malpractice of coaching if X-Rob gets the ball 8 times in the second half and 3 times in the fourth quarter. You can't tell me how many plays Arbuckle was drawn up in the sand that would have worked if you know your quarterback is having one of those games where he can't throw a tennis ball into the ocean. You know what I'm saying? He can't skip rocks at a lake. If your quarterback can't skip rocks at a lake, you know what I'm saying, during the summer, then you don't need to keep queuing up plays that require him to be the main person. And so all that being said, we got unlucky against Ole Miss. That's a game we should win. If it was a fifth, we'd all be drunk, right? Or we'd all be drunk. But Satania doesn't drop that punt. And our offensive coordinator doesn't put the ball in the hands of someone who's clearly having a terrible day, and does put the ball in the hands of someone who's clearly having a successful day. And the other piece of that, Barry, is we're going against a team that in the fourth quarter, they break down. Their defensive line becomes a detriment. Their defensive depth, they don't have. So therefore, guys are tired. All we needed to do was lean on them. All we needed to do was put their guys in a position where emotionally and mentally, they're going to say, oh, shit. And we did it. We let them off the hook. And so, yeah, I say all that to say the answer is John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle. And it starts with John Mateer this game, because I believe Mateer had a good week of practice. And so based on practice, Arbuckle was like, we got to run the plays that worked in practice. I totally believe that. But in-game adjustments, he needed to give the O-line and X-Rob an opportunity to show that Ole Miss could stop them, especially in the third and fourth quarter in a light box. They're in a 42 and a 41. They're running a 41. 4 down, 1 backer in the box. We've got 5 linemen and our quarterback and our running back. There's no excuse to not run the ball. So I will say all that. Answer to the question is, can Mateer execute? Barry, we said this in the fall camp pod. If people go back and listen, we said, you asked me the question, or maybe I posed the question, I don't remember. But it was very simply asked, in which games would we not have the better quarterback? I don't know. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
We talked about, we had a discussion about which games will we not have. We laughed about Arch, right? Everybody was talking about Heisman, and we were like, I don't think he got it. And of course, it's come out that he hasn't. Ole Miss was not one of the teams that we said the quarterback of their team would be better. And this is obviously before Chambliss became the guy, and obviously he was the difference in the game. But needless to say, we expected John Mateer to be the better player in that game, and I mean, he wasn't. By the way, he wasn't the better quarterback in the Texas game either. And so the team is good enough to win. By the way, I'm going to piss some people off here, but I think the stats are starting to bear that out. The offensive line is good enough to win. Tennessee's defense is not Tennessee's defense last year. If someone said the offensive line is not good enough to beat Texas, I might be with you. If someone said the offensive line was not good enough to beat Georgia, I might be with you. By the way, Bama's defensive line is not the Bama defensive lines of old. They've got a couple of really good players, but I think our offensive line is going to be in the hemisphere of being successful. It's in Tuscaloosa. They've got the revenge factor, so those things matter. But Knoxville, tomorrow night, their D-line is not some, juggernaut that we're going to have to hope we can be successful. Their backers are not the crew they had last year. And our offensive line, not, again, contextually speaking, they had a good second half. They had a solid second half. I wouldn't say good. They had a solid second half. So I say all that to say is, I don't even want to make any speculations if our quarterback can't hit, or if our quarterback can't read a basic high-low where it's 4th and 7 and we're running an in and out slant and a slant return, whatever you want to call it, and he just chooses to not throw that ball. Or the receiver's open and he just can't hit him. If our quarterback has that issues, we're in trouble. If he has that issue again, I am going to say Mike Hawkins. For as bad as Mike has played this year, I am going to say that after this game. And so I think it starts there. The defensive front played well enough. Ole Miss got some stuff, but I promise you, we won't play another quarterback as good as Chambliss, beating you with his arm, his legs, and his mind. Guys, kids are running back after he breaks the line of scrimmage. He out-athleted Kip. He out-athleted Powers. He out-athleted Wine. He out-athleted the only guy that had a pretty good game against him was Kendall Daniels. He out-athleted everybody else in a very different way than a South Carolina quarterback did. This kid was a jitterbug who was just, he's probably a 4 or 5 quarterback, dude. And he threw the ball like a NFL quarterback. Some of the outcuts he was throwing on those corner routes and those hole throws, and he led the receiver to the second window on some in cuts. He made some big time throws in that game. Aguilar can throw the ball, but Aguilar's not going to run the ball in that fashion. Anyway, we'll dive into that in a bit. But yeah, give me Mateer. Will he execute? Give me Arbuckle. Will he take the game plan that's available to him versus trying to force something down our throats? Those two things matter the most to me.
I think the thing that sticks out, and stuck out against Ole Miss is just finding the simplicity. I mean, the first is that OU makes a change on the O-line, and you now have a right tackle and a left tackle who are they're physical DMAC, and we've talked about it. On the offensive line, you actually said this when you start getting into a Fasusi and a Foji and an EPL who played a lot more against Ole Miss. You're getting into guys now that Beatonbow has brought in who are higher ceiling guys. You have been on record saying you can't have expectations for a bunch of guys who are 3-star level talents, right? Just do what you will. Well, now the guys who are there, your Fojis, your Fasusis, your EPLs, who finally seem to be coming along, that's 3 out of 5 who are, top 50 out of their class, right? Out of that, out of their respective class on the offensive line. That is high ceiling, high ability. So you're talking feet, you're talking arms, just the measurables when they go up against any team in the SEC, they're not immediately a negative on the athletic side. So that is an advantage that OU has built up, and you felt it in the game. You felt OU's intensity along the line of scrimmage, and that there were more often than not, they were moving guys, making holes, and just playing loose, playing fast. We've heard on the other pods talking about just velocity and getting off the ball and being physical. And then now you bring in a physical back who's also got some speed to really push it, and X-Rob. And it does feel like, well, what are you doing getting away from that? I want to ask you to just put on your OC hat, because I think for us watching, obviously you can see with Mateer the sidearm stuff, some of the off balance when he's throwing. Those are still factors, but to me, they're not the biggest factor, because he still gets completions when he does pick the right decision. I think my question to you is, you watched Ole Miss just take what was available. If 6 yards was available on the quick game, that they took it, right? If they had numbers in the run game, they took it. Whereas Oklahoma, especially to end the game, it seemed like it was a chunk play or nothing when you got Satania wide open, just to pick up the first down. You've got Kanik wide open just to pick up the first. My question is, the OC Damian, how do you go into practice and say, we need to simplify the decision making? We need to say, here is what we're doing if they're in this, and these are the decisions that have to be made in those split seconds. But what happens there, and how is that modified?
I am going to move the goalpost just an inch. By the way, shout out to Seth. He has 2 super chat questions. One of these kind of aligns with one of his questions. He said, DMAC if BV called and said, we need you on the staff. We need to do to get to know. I would say, give me 1 year, unless you're going to pay me 7 figures. If you're not paying me 7 figures, give me a year, because I can make it on my own. And then in a year, I'll go for free. I don't know if I'll go for free, but I will need the money. So But anyway, to your question, you know, I'm going to move the goalpost a bit because I believe I think it's oversimplification of what we've learned so far this year. So I think the first thing that we need to address is a self-study. And as we self-study our team, it's unfortunate that it took us to get, but the beauty is, okay, there's good and bad. The beauty is we're 6-2. This is why I'm not really, the sky is falling for all the people that are just like in such a bad state. I don't get it. We can still make the playoffs. We can even still play in the SEC championship, which I don't know if that's a really big deal in this rendition of college football. Like when I was at OU, conference championships were a big deal, right? You kind of had to be in the conference championship to play for the national championship. So, but this rendition is not that big a deal. But as of today, we control our own destiny to the playoffs. We are, I don't want to say it's healthy, but we are healthy where we need to be, or we have young talent that is emerging that potentially could be better. Offensive line, we've had 3 mainstays injured all year, but the center position, we have a viable option. I don't know if you saw the thing I posted. I felt so bad. Did you see what I posted on Twitter?
No, man, he's had moments like that. It is like the film is the film, man. You're gonna
got like, yeah,
100%.
exactly. It was like I got like 90,000 views. I'm like, oh god, I didn't want everybody to make fun of the kid. Yeah. But anyway, the center gets housed on a couple of plays. That D tackle is a real deal guy. But we've either got young talent that is emerging, or we've stayed healthy. I'm thinking about positions like receiver. I'm also thinking about the position like quarterback. And I would say for the first time since BV's first year, or maybe even the last regime, we have a pretty good stable of running backs who are a threat between Blaylock and X-Rob.
You got you got 2 guys. Yeah.
The easy answer is you look at Tennessee, who I don't know if people got a chance to watch the game. If they didn't, Kentucky ran up and down the field on those guys. Literally, they played in Kentucky. You know, that's kind of a rivalry game, or that's not the rivalry game. That's Vandy and Tennessee. That's the rivalry game, or the in-state game. Point being, this is not a defense that we have to win every possession. If they shrink the game, we're in trouble. This is a defense that wants to stop us 2-3 times because they're going to hope their offense is going to score 40 points, right? So with that being said, we have to give them a high dosage of running the ball. See, Mateer has been asked to be a brain trust the entire year. We've talked about it all year, right? I've said all year, I feel comfortable with him in that position because it's his offense, Arbogle's offense. They have 3 years of continuity. So as the year has progressed, I think it's time to say, what would we do with Mateer if this were his first year? You know what we would do? We would run the football. We would make them put an extra man in the box, which makes very clear and defined pre-snap reads, and then we action off of that. To me, we have to make them show they can stop that before we start going all kind of exotic progression, rollout, quick game, double moves. That's the kind of ball I love. I'll nerd out on, me, Barry, like I'll nerd out on that. But in this situation, after watching Ole Miss, when you really consolidate that game, our quarterback sucked in that game. And that's a very big reason why we lost the game. Satania's punt return is a killer of momentum. And somebody brought it back to my attention. I said, dang, why you remind me? I forgot. If you remember in the Michigan game, I referenced, I said, man, you know what? He had even done it in Illy State. I said, he hot dogs too much. He stays close to the ball, acting like he's a cool dude. I said, that's going to cost him. Watch. And sure enough, he does it again. Beautiful return, but he doesn't need to jump and try to get another 3 yards or whatever the hell it is. Get your ass down. We're going to take the ball and score again, put all the pressure on them. And then, of course, we turn the ball over. If I'm the OC, EPO is playing left guard. Foje is still playing right tackle. Simmons is my swing. I got 2 puppies. Hey, Simmons, you're still going to probably play a ton. But the fact is, Simmons is a guy who teams have been able to punk on that edge. Foje, I'm sorry, I'm giving him a chance. And maybe they're 1 and 1A, like I was my freshman year. JJ starts, but I'm getting a lot of reps because they want to get me ready for my sophomore year. All of us, me, Kurt, Savo. Well, Savo started, like he kind of had a role of starting. But I'm keeping the O-line as such. Ozita as quality depth is awesome. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing? Ozita is an awesome quality depth piece. Derek Simmons is an awesome quality depth piece. Howland can take his time. We need another center, so we got to figure that out. But I'm leaving EPL at right guard. Fasusi's got to take his lumps. Foje's got to take his lumps. 54, damn it, you got to kind of be the bona fide. And
he's like the guy. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got to be the, I don't want to call him the alpha, but the best of the tallest of the midgets, right?
The guy.
And, and we've got to be able to run the football. We, as fans, we need to be able to see a team that says until Tennessee puts 7 in the box, if we're an 11 personnel, they're putting 7 in the box to stop the run, which makes a very clean picture for us to throw the ball. If that's what I hope to see, because it tells me Arbuckle is putting Mateer in a position where not everything's not on his shoulders, because the Ole Miss game came down to everything being on his shoulders and he couldn't produce. And as fans, we're like, wait a minute, this is the first game where the running game could have run us the damn game and we stopped running the ball. I want to see that first. If I see that, then Arbuckle is not a priority in terms of concerns and issues. Then the players have to execute. If I don't see that first, I'm not going to blame the players. I'm not going to blame Mateer again. Yeah, I will. If he screws up, I'm like, damn it, you screwed up. But I'm going to blame his coach first, because if the offense can run the ball and Tennessee can't stop the run, by the way, can't stop the pass either. But if Tennessee can't stop the run, and we've got X-Raw ramming into people, and then we've got Blaylock playing on the edges, that's a 1-2 punch that is good enough to play against anybody, and young. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see.
I think it's so disappointing, you know, just to kind of analogize a little NBA basketball here. Like in the NBA, statistically, if you're top 5 in defensive efficiency and top 10 in offensive efficiency, you've got a championship ball club. And you look at this Sooners team, and the defense is there. The offense, I know it's crazy to say, because we're talking about stuff we used to say back in 17, you know, if the defense was just solid, you win those games against your Georgias and your Alabamas, and you bring home championships. But I think this offense is much closer than those defenses were. And you're right. I think some of these ailments can be fixed this season. I want to ask D-Mac, just kind of dive in for a second, because it feels like structurally within the decision-making of the game that there is something off, that there is something missing in terms of choices in the important moments, right? The middle 8 that Venables has talked about, right? Where you come out, just the decision or maybe lack thereof to not try to be more aggressive with scoring before the half, know when you get the ball back, right? You've already said that you're going to attack them offensively. You've been aggressive thus far. It almost was as if they didn't know what they were wanting to do. And these have been BV problems for years now. This isn't new. This isn't new stuff, right? You have an opportunity to create multiple 2-3 possession games, and you never can seal the deal. You come out, it's a quick 3 and out when you've got momentum. You get a holding call that pushes you back, and then you run outside zone out of the pistol at your goal line. So it's just mistake after mistake. And it feels like at this point, there is almost maybe not a leadership issue, but maybe that is what it is when it comes to what do we want to do in this moment, right? Who is the loudest voice in the room? And I think you've already said it's got to be on Arbuckle. He is quarterbacking the offense, right? The play calling aspect of the offense, the aggressive or conservative nature. Venables has seemingly handed that over. But what, just from your experience being on those sidelines and knowing how that decision making takes place, what kind of control or ownership do the players take in something like that? Coaches, how is that resolved? How do you actually get to a point where during that middle 8, there's quality decisions being made and the team is efficient? It felt like during your time and Stoops' time that was an area where Bob just thrived, right? If he was up 3 you guys were up 10 at half, right? And then would separate in those third and fourth quarters just by being efficient and sticking to what got you there in the first place, or being very strategic when the fake punt against Alabama in 2003 or whatever, the Ronaldo works plays in the 02 game, right? And then some of the stuff in 08 and 09 that OU was doing. They were good at that. And Venables was a part of those staffs. So how do you do it now, mid-season, get to where that decision making is not so much of a problem?
Yeah, I think BV is learning on the fly, which kind of sounds weird year 4, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
do believe he made the commitment, and I even believe it's something that came from even like a Nagy or a Castiglione, where it's like, man, you're one of the very best in college football as it relates to running a defense. We believe in you as a CEO. Don't task yourself with being a taskmaster on the offensive side of the ball as well, where you are required to also be the offensive genius. And so he brings in an Arbuckle with the expectation that he'll do that. So I do think there is a learning curve, and I do believe 2, 3, 4 years into this relationship, assuming obviously BV keeps his job, which I don't think his job is on the line as of right now, and then Arbuckle keeps his job, meaning he's good enough to where we don't want to fire him, but not great enough to where he leaves in a year or so, if you're with me, right? So they get a 3 or 4 year run going. I think they will learn each other better, because I think Saturday made it very apparent that BV wasn't the brain trust calling the plays in the fourth quarter, because if he was, like you said, I saw Bob. I was with Bob his first year, and by Bob's second year, so this is 4 years in, not 2 years in, like Bob was like, screw that, we're running the football. And those of you that were around when Bob was 34 and BV was 29 and Spurrier was 27 and Gundy was 28, you're talking about very young men having very active, assertive, sometimes aggressive conversations, sometimes arguments, sometimes yelling matches on our sidelines. Like, that's some of the stuff we saw as players. And by the way, we didn't feel it was toxic. We felt it was championship caliber accountability. It's kind of like how we looked at it. A few times we would laugh, but more often than not, it was like, damn it, coaches is trying to win, And so as I look, and really, as we reflect on Saturday, I think BV would say, damn, in retrospect, I should have just called the play and say, run the damn football.
Mm-hmm.
I believe BV would say that in retrospect to what happened. But the other thing that you brought up that I think is very pertinent is the players make plays. And I think that piece goes back to the chest plate of Satania. He's trying to make a play. However, he, on his own, ladies and gentlemen, that, like, especially a punt returner, on his own, fields the ball, makes 25 yards. I think it's like 29 yards. So he's doing a great thing. He hits the sideline, cuts back up the middle. He's trying to make a play. However, he's got to be smart enough to get down versus what he did. And so I say all that to say, BV as a head coach, he is improving. He's learning on the fly. He, as the CEO of the program, is understanding how I have the ability now to have a guy I trust on offense, where I wonder if his trust has gone down just a bit, but I still have to give myself authority to make that one key decision, that one key, right, choice, that one key play, that call. Because I can't, by the last possession, it's the second to last possession, I we're all frustrated. And if you go on my Twitter, I'm even giving Arbuckle some props. Like, hey, you can't get mad at Arbuckle for that. The quarterback just missed. I'm thinking of the Canic out route. I'm thinking of the whole throw to Gibson down the sideline. Again, the whole throw could be a touchdown. If people understand the game, it's 1v1 with the safety who's not close enough to make a hit on the ball. If you can juke him, it's a touchdown. I'm also thinking about the slant return to Satania, right? Those are all plays that if our quarterback just executes, we're good. But our offensive coordinator shouldn't have continued to put him in that position, because we saw he hadn't executed 2, 3, 4 drives prior. And those are the things where, as a head coach, you veto. As a head coach, you take it into your own hands. And I think BV in the same scenario, you'll see us run the ball and we'll be on a post-game pod saying, I wonder if BV called that play because we know Arbuckle did last time. That's one of those scenarios where we'll be pondering what happened. I want to pause and say two things. Number one, someone asked about my hat. Derek's my cousin. Yeah. The owner of Captain Brand, who makes this hat. It's a really cool hat. He saved me. Joshua, he's actually my blood cousin who went to OU, who's from Lawton, who's a huge OU fan, who we've been close 15 years before we found out we're family. We're family. He's going to start sponsoring the show or some of the stuff that we do down the road. Also, Seth has another 2 super chats. I just want to make sure I pay homage and respect to what he is asking. D-Mac, if you had to guess, what's the reason? Takeaways. I believe BV puts all the pressure on the backers and keeps our safeties too deep. It's why people belabor why the safeties don't make enough plays. By the way, RSJ's been missing tackles in space. He needs to be better than that. He's losing money because he's a guy who we consider to be a second day, third day type, 4th rounder, 5th rounder coming into the season. Had he had a monster season, maybe a 2nd, 3rd rounder type guy, depending on how he tested. He's a guy who, because he has enough film and the defense is good, he's still going to get shot, but he's a 6th, 7th, at this point, in my opinion. And then Peyton's a guy who his acclaim and rating have been much higher than the production on the field in terms of impact and game-changing ability. But I think it boils down to BV saying, I'm going to commence hellfire with the front 7. Safeties don't give away anything cheap. And so they're not given the opportunity to rob a lot, to jump things, right? He wants them over the top, deterring defenses from wanting to take long shots. And so our safeties are not in position to really be in the mix. It's more so the front with the backers. And then I think the last line for that is the cheetah. He's putting Kendall in positions to be kind of that third set. And then the safeties are truly playing a deep third safety. That's my opinion on why we don't get a lot of turnovers, coupled with our corners choosing to play offense off when they don't have to. And I said this in the 10 thoughts. It pissed me off on 3rd and 4, we're off 7.
Yeah, that makes it. What is that? Well, why? I guess
trust. Or
is that what that is? Okay, because it felt like Cortland played well. It felt like it was. It was like you get your play, I'll get my play, that kind of game, right? And they were just, both sides were pretty feisty and fighting for position. In a situation like that, D-Mac, is that a coach call, or is that just the player not trusting Tech, and I'm just going to give myself a little bit more room so I don't get smoked one way or the other?
I think it's the coach giving the players autonomy to have the option, and then the players being soft and not wanting to put their ass on the line to take away the cheap stuff, and having not a culture, but here's how you sell yourself that dream. This is what you hear a bunch of DCs say. DCs will say, we want to play show coverage because before a team can score a touchdown, they'll make a mistake. They'll get a hold, somebody a fumble, a false start, down in distance, and then we'll get a 3 and out. That works in the NFL because everybody's a pro. College football, if a team finds a weak link, if Eli Bowen is afraid to get his ass at 2 yards off the line or play bump man, that the other team is going to run a speed out, a slant stop, or a hitch all freaking day. Period. In college football, the variance in players and athleticism is too far for it to catch up. On our D line is special, but if you've got a quarterback who can out athlete the front 7, pretty much, he's going to find a way to find space to make the play. What makes the defense better is all the best SEC teams, even now, go watch them. There are certain plays where they say, we're playing man, your guy's not getting a free release, we're going to bring heat, your offensive guy's got to beat our defensive guy, make a play. The beauty is the offenses have gotten so much better, the offenses can win now, right? So you see a lot of guys making big plays, whatever, on the offensive side of the ball, but forever, the LSUs, the Alabamas, the Georgias, Tennessees, Florida in 08, 09 comes to mind. Georgia 2017 against Baker Mayfield and those guys come to mind. Money downs, we're playing man. Roquan Smith has Baker Mayfield. He's going to make the play, right? Major right at safety is going to be man free. He's going to see who Sam Bradford's throwing the ball to. He's going to knock his head off, right? Like, that's big time football. I think the coach has given autonomy to our starters at the corner position, and some of them choose to not put themselves in a position where it's going to be 1v1. Eli, I'm looking at you. And I also think coach is creating that option. Listen, there are times where a coach would be like, D-Mac, it's man, you got to run a slant fade. You don't think I wanted to run a curl or a dig all day? I was probably the best on the team at running curls and digs. If you give me off man, you ain't covering me. I'm sure teams watch film and say, get physical with him, because if you give him a free release, he's going to kick ass, which is why I saw a lot of bump. Because I was a smaller guy, 5'11", 190, right? And so 6'1" DBs, Gary Baxter, Quentin Jammer, Deshaun Carter, I can name them. Like, these guys were like, I got to put hands on the kid. Tay Cody, Florida State, right? Our guys, they got to come up and play bump sometimes. That's part of what it takes to play at OU. Watch Ohio State, watch Oregon, watch Bama, watch Georgia. I haven't watched much of Indiana. They're a damn good team. And I don't know what their defense looks like. I haven't, Big Ten, I haven't been paying close attention. But you watch the big boys, money downs. They're going to mix it up sometimes, which BB does a great job of. Sometimes they're just saying, we're running man across. Quarterback, you don't know exactly where your receiver is going to be. We're going to put hands on him, or we're going to invite him where we want him to go, and we're going to bracket him with a safety or a backer. When you don't do that, it takes away from your ability to be successful.
And it's funny because I felt like when Venables was at Clemson, he did it more, and maybe that's just perspective. Maybe he felt really confident in his corners. Well, he had Mackenzie Alexander and like NFL level players at corner for a large chunk of those years, or at least one. Well, you've got them, right? I know you don't have a healthy Gentry all the time, but Cortland has shown, and I saw someone in the chat, Cortland was one of the bright spots in that game. It seems that he was playing
closer.
back.
By the way, he was playing closer to the line of scrimmage more often than not. He was in a closer pre-snap position than Eli was off all game. And
you see it in his play, like you see the confidence in the technique. You also see some coaching there. You saw him at multiple moments look back for the ball. His footwork has improved, getting in and out of breaks, not getting his hips turned like he did in the Auburn game. I think he saw so much that he could work on. And I mean, that's what's supposed to happen, right? In the SEC, in a conference like this, when you played football back in the Big 12, and this will take me to kind of where I want to go with the back half of the show today. The talent was so good against teams you were playing that you learned so much about yourself. By the time you played Nebraska, you knew these are the areas, because you were tested by K-State, and Texas didn't really test you guys in 2000, but like in 99 they did, right? So you knew a ton about yourself, and you're seeing that growth with Cortland. And that's why I think the O-line roll with this, right? Roll with the youngsters at this point who are a high ceiling. The risk might be higher in some respects, and I think we've seen that in pass pro. But in the run game, the feet and the power in the hands and the overall movement has been vastly better. I want to take a little time and talk about Kendall Daniels, D-Mac, because I have watched him a ton since these last few games. One, he's just healthy now, and he's moving really good. I think he's going to play himself into a possibly second round pick kind of guy, especially if he plays or performs well at the combine. He has absolutely played himself into a combine invite, 100%. He looks like one of the most athletic players on that side of the ball. He has solidified himself at that position. And Oklahoma's front seven, like that is what has kept them in games thus far this year. And you're seeing the depth grow, which is the frustrating part, right? You look at the O-line, they've had the same runway, same length of time, and you look at what that D-line is now with just such a wonderful mix of veterans, young players, guys who were development pieces like Wine, and the growth that has happened on that side of the ball is just it's not unprecedented in a BV defense, but it is something that you can write home about. It's a phenomenal product at this point. But Daniels has made such a big difference because this is the first time that OU is playing with an elite cheetah who's doing all the things that they wanted a guy like Dason to do, wanted a guy like Dolby to do, wanted a player who could not be taken off the field so much. So just in general, DMAC, your assessment of him, but then also looking at some of the areas where the defense does still need to improve and where they might be tested in this game. You've got receivers who cooked Oklahoma a year ago. Some of those same players are still on the defense. You had backers have issue with coverage a year ago. Have they impacted the game better this year in pass downs? Absolutely. But you're about to play another good quarterback, receivers who did it to you a year ago. Thoughts on Daniels, but then what does Oklahoma need to do? Not like pie in the sky safeties, wish you would play this way. I'm talking about in this game against Tennessee, what are some of the major imperatives to ensure that you don't get 30 scored on you?
First things first, Daniel's the best second level defender we have, excluding nobody, including Kip. I mean, Kip has another year, and he's solidifying himself as a stalwart. He could be a top 2-3 round pick because he's going to test well, and he looks relative to his SEC counterparts. Kip looks the part now. He looks like a bona fide SEC backer. But this year, Kendall Daniels is, in my opinion, the last 4 games, the cleanest of the second level guys. I would have to go back, and I don't know all his responsibilities as the cheetah, but let me tell you what they're doing. They're playing Kendall like a Roy, and they're playing Powers more like a safety. Powers has more third level responsibilities than Kendall does when Kendall's in. And you know that because there are parts of the game last week where Kendall was not in. And it's because I think of some of his limitations. And I don't know that I would say limitations. I guess I would say more so that they feel better with Powers doing things at third level more than they feel at Kendall doing third level. And that's just coaching. You know what I mean? That's sub packages. Because I said this 2 weeks ago, Kendall's a Mike or a Will all day in the NFL. There's no way Kendall's going to touch safety, nothing. And let me tell you what BV is doing. And it kind of speaks to the Kendall Dolby thing. BV is a genius on defense. BV is telling Kendall Daniels, I got you playing cheetah, which is a hybrid position. But your 80% of your responsibilities are what? Second level responsibilities, which are what? Backer. So we're solidifying you're going to be an NFL dude at backer, but we're also showing you're going to have the ability to play some thirds, some deep coverage as a third level defender. That's only going to make him more valuable. But mark my words, unless he runs a 4.38, Kendall Daniels is going to be on somebody's team as a backer in the NFL, and they're going to say he's a guy. They're going to make comps like Fred Warner, more so than they're going to make comps like Roquan Smith. You know what I'm saying? Roquan Smith is a true blue tackle to tackle, knock your head off middle backer. Whereas Fred Warner is a guy who you will leave in to have coverage on a tight end or even a running back, right? What BV is doing is creating a pathway for Kendall to have access to those type of opportunities, so long as he executes and makes the plays that are available to him this year. And he's been doing it the last 4 weeks. So Kendall is like a joker piece for us. He has helped in a lot of capacities. Obviously, the IQ to catch the middle screen. By the way, he's the only guy there. If Kendall doesn't read that, go watch the play. Kendall is head up on the center. Yeah. Granted, he's spine, so it's not like he made some unfathomable play, but on that play, he's free to do whatever he wants to do. And if he has a man, it's the quarterback or the running back. It's not the receiver. He reads the play and blows that thing up, right? So, like, those are the type of plays when scouts watch film, they're going to be like, the kid's IQ is high, the kid's awareness and instincts are good, they're strong, and he's physical. Like the kid's physical. He's also the biggest, strongest Like I think we talked about this. He's an inch and a half taller than all the rest of the backers, and he's an inch or two girthier. He doesn't remind me of T. Marshall in his play, but the year before we had T. Marshall, we had a guy named Armand Spence, 6'2", 235. We have Brandon Moore, who was the Mike on the Rex Ryan 46 defense. By the way, Brandon Moore played 8 years in the NFL, 6 years for the 49ers, okay? So Brandon Moore is a 6'3", 240-pound guy, and we have Rocky Kalmus, right? So our backers look the part. T. Marshall walks in, he just looked different. Like, you're like, bro, who is that? Like, it just looked different. And when I saw Kendall, I'm like, oh, he just looks different than the rest of the backers. He's bigger than the backers. You know what I'm saying? And he's probably more athletic than all of them not named Kip. And so, that in itself just speaks to what he's going to bring from a measurable standpoint. Very good player. Defensive standpoint, the defense, this is going to be the toughest game this season for the defense. One caveat, if we can't get to Ty Simpson, they're going to kill us with the in cut. Our safeties, this game in Alabama are going to tell us what our safeties can do. Our safeties will not be able to hide for two reasons. Number one, pre-snap, and I guess we got to start talking Tennessee. Tennessee is going to, by alignment, put us on islands. Josh takes his X receivers. He has 2 X receivers. He doesn't have an X and a Z. He puts both X receivers 3 yards outside the sidelines to stretch you horizontally, right? And then they go twins, they go stack, they go trips. They do all that stuff on either side. That's going to put the corners in an island, right? Then he'll run RPO. If your safety stay back, he's going to give the ball to 18. And 18, we're going to have to prove to Tennessee Hype's seasoned, and I can say this with full authority. Hype is going to see if we can stop the run before he ever tries to see if they can beat us with the pass. He might take a shot early. He might take a shot early just to test us, but don't get it twisted. Come the middle of the first quarter, second quarter, he's going to see how we address the run game first. You know why? Because if you can't stop the run, you can't stop the pass. You know why? Because if you can't stop the run, you got to bring more guys, which means they can throw the ball over the top. And that's what Tennessee has done all year
Just
long.
Football. Yeah.
Well, yes, but specifically, Barry, they are number 1. I think it's in America, but for sure in the SEC on throws over 20 yards.
I saw that. I think they have the most plays. Yeah.
They show that ball, and when you guys have to attack it because you haven't shown you can stop the run, it's a 1v1 match. It's crazy how many 1v1 matches they draw up where their corner or their receiver is running away. It's generally not a fade. Sometimes it's a fade, but it's generally a post across the field or it's a corner across the field, and the quarterback has an angle to throw to his 6'3" receiver. And it's not because they've schemed up your safeties. It's because they've run the football first, and your safeties are having to help in the run, and they show that ball. As soon as I see that safety, if his feet stay flat, if your safety's feet stay flat, they can get behind you. Your safety has to be getting out of there or they're in trouble. So this is going to be a tough game for us. And everybody talking about our safeties, like we're all going to see it live and direct. There's not going to be a way to hide the safeties in this game. The safeties are not going to be able to be a safety valve unless the front 4 doesn't give them 2 seconds. If the front 4 isn't giving them 2 seconds, then we're in good shape. But I highly doubt it's going to be that easy for us. We'll see what we got. RSJ. Let me say this too. Boganowski has been playing very bad the last 2 or 3 games. Run fits, angles, and coverage. He's got to improve. And he's a guy who last year got a little bit of enforcer juice, especially against Navy. And then earlier this year, he kind of had some enforcer juice, meaning a guy who's kind of intimidating. Those intimidating hits don't mean nothing if you can't do your job. So I'm looking to see if he's going to be a guy who is going to step up and be more fundamentally sound play in, play out.
Yeah, I think you just look at the matchup, and we said early in the year, OU's D-line is going to be the advantage, the biggest advantage they have going into every game. And Tennessee is they're just generally good on offense and then have elite receiver play. That this is a game where you talk about not hiding the safeties. You touched on it. You're not going to be able to hide Eli Bowen. right? I do believe it seems like Gentry is going to be available. So that's a plus. That is being able to put him out there at the other corner spot. I think Devin Jordan has had moments where he's looked pretty good. Again, we've talked about some of the tackling on the edge, on the perimeter. Same thing with Jacoby Johnson. But this is one where, it feels like it has the potential, DMAC, to be like the Missouri game, where if OU turns the ball over like they did against Ole Miss, and if the corners just don't make more plays than the offensive side of the ball and bat some of those down, it's going to be a tough one for OU to win because the offense is not going to be able to generate enough. And that's where I think game plan, you have to say we're a 2-loss team at this point. You can't afford another loss. Just inventory yourselves and say, this season thus far, who have been our most explosive players? Who are the guys who have consistently generated offense when they've touched the ball? Well, what groupings have performed the best? And go with that offensively. And then defensively, I think you're not going to be afforded to take a ton of personnel risks, right? You talk about the 22 players. I think this is a game where Heupel, one, he's just got a vendetta for Oklahoma, right? Just because of the history. So he's going to throw everything he can. He's got some juice saved up for this one, right? You know that's going to be on. It was on his mind a season ago. That win last year was very satisfying for Heupel with everything that he had gone through. I know you can't touch on some of the personal conversations you've had with him, but just seeing him from afar, the kind of competitor that he has always been, the OU is not going to be afforded a ton of reps in this one where you have Eli Bowen guarding their best receiver, because Heupel is going to say that's where we're going with the ball.
Listen, let me tell you, Hype. And I talked to Hype 25 years ago, and I talked to Hype 25 days ago. Like, Hype is like, Matt, football is a very simple game. You find the mismatch, and you touch it. If they get an opportunity to get Eli, and they feel like he's going to be a snack, they running at him. If they feel like our safeties are not up to par, and they feel like they're going to be some snacks, they like Hype is you're hitting the nail on the head. Hype is not gonna run scheme versus X's and O's and Jimmy's and Joe's. If he's got the Jimmy and Joe advantage in any particular space, he is going to attack it. And he loves Aguilar because Aguilar is a phenomenal deep ball thrower. They're gonna throw the ball down the field. We gotta be ready.
Yeah, I think this will be the game where they get it most. And OU, if they haven't solved some of the things that really in Ole Miss, against Ole Miss, that they held serve in some respects. It was some of the kind of between the 20s type plays that killed OU in that one. Against Auburn, it was the deep shots because Auburn had guys who could just win on the perimeter, right? Ole Miss got some receivers, but this is going to be more like your Cam Coleman's, your number 12s for Auburn in terms of the matchups, right? Big, long, girthy bodies that are going to be able to win, but 7 out of 10 times, right? So your Cortlands, your Bowens, and your safeties, your RSJs, guys who are having to play on those islands have got to make plays and have got to trust what they're in. To me, it boils down to, does OU take more of a time of possession approach? Do they take more of a, kind of sit on the ball, but be not necessarily conservative, right? Because that doesn't seem to be Arbuckle's MO. But do you try? I think what they tried to do against Ole Miss, DMAC, was they tried to fight fire with fire instead of saying, you know what, we got some lightning over here that might actually work. Let's utilize the lightning that we have and not try to play the Ole Miss game. Because if they try to play the Tennessee game that Georgia played with them, Georgia just still has guys, right, who can go do that. And that's why Georgia was able to hang in there. Oklahoma is not going to have that capability. So I ask it just boil the game down, DMAC, to a couple points. And then obviously we want prediction for the game. But if you just had to say Oklahoma wins if, Oklahoma loses if, what are those two factors? And then give me a score for this one.
If Oklahoma can, I liked what you said. I think the word that I would use is deliberate. If Oklahoma can be deliberate on offense, meaning when we need to run the ball, can we run the ball? When we need to sustain a drive, can we sustain the drive? And when we need to score a TD, can we score a TD? If we are deliberate on offense, our offensive line, I do think you spoke to something that's really important. I do think we lose a little something in the pass protection with the puppies playing, but I think we gain quite a bit in the run with Foje and EPL being in there. I think those guys move people more than just cover guys up. And so it'll be interesting to see if those guys play more. I think it's because we want to run the ball more. All right. So if we have the ability to be deliberate on offense, and I think it's also important to say to have a clean sheet. We can't have oopsie turnovers like we've done. We just can't. We're not good enough getting the ball back on defense to have a turnover or two. They've been the difference in wins and losses. On defense, if we can put them in real drop back and just clear passing scenarios. That's the thing that Tennessee hype wants to put you in a scenario where you're not sure. By the way, hype will run the ball on 4th and 2. By the way, go watch the last 2 or 3 games. He has no issue with running. They lose to Alabama because he doesn't take a couple field goals on the goal line. He runs the ball. By the way, one of them they score. One of them it's a pick 6 to the house. It's a 14-point swing.
Mm-hmm.
Like straight up. One is literally a tug. They get it, 18 scores. And the other one, it's 4th down. He doesn't kick the field goal. It's a 14-point swing. If he kicks both field goals and doesn't give up that TD, that's a 13-point swing. If he makes both, they win the game. But Hype's MO is Hype's he's gonna play the game to win the game. And so I believe if we're able to stop the run in a 42 box or a 33 box, all right. And I think BV will switch it up a bit where we're playing a 3-3 more often than not. And the backers are taking the 2 on coverage, meeting them in the gap. And then there's one free guy to clean up from sideline to sideline. That's how he does it. Last year when we played them, we played a 3-3 and we were over the center inside shade of the tackles. And when they tried to run the ball, the backers met the uncovered guys in the hole. And then we had one guy who, if he doesn't make the play, it's a big time play. But we stuffed them most of the game because we had Danny and Kip doing a really good job of cleaning stuff up. And then the cheat is kind of like the cheat code. If we can stop, but by the way, they know we deployed that. So they're going to adjust from that, right? That's the chess match. BV came up with a great plan last year to mitigate their ability to run the football for most of the game. They're going to say, okay, if this is OU's bread and butter, how do we run the ball against that this year? And they're going to have something set up for that. But if we can make them have a lot of passing, it's for sure going to pass or just drop back where it's not RPO. I think they're the best in the conference at RPO. They're one of the best in America at RPO. So if we can take them out of RPO where they've got to just pass the ball and where they're not trying to show the ball to make us think they're going to run, we're in good shape. And on the offensive side of the ball, again, I don't possess, like you said, it's too much time possession. I just think it's deliberate. Deliberate gives me the idea of we want to smash mouth for a while, but now we want to go for a big play, right? We want to run the ball in this season, but now we want to go quick game where we're deliberately controlling what we want to do. And I think your guess is as good as mine as it relates to, is Arbuckle going to commit to running the football? And I believe if there's a commitment there, it's because BV said, damn it, run the football.
I think it's one of those, and Oklahoma's kind of been like this all season long. They have had plays and had moments in every single game. Auburn, South Carolina, against Ole Miss, right? Even, you go back to the Michigan game, right? The Michigan game, it is still a good win. Michigan has turned out to be a really good football team, that they're going to be competing down to the very end. one of the better teams, one of the best 20 teams in college football, I would say. But you have had these moments in games where you can seal the deal. You can go up 2-3 possessions and put it away. And it just feels like something that's so almost intrinsic to the program at this point, because we've seen it year after year after year. And I don't want to put it all on the coaches. I don't want to put it all on the players, because some of that is mentality. Some of that is culture. Some of that is like, the choosing, when you're focusing, not letting the focus be dictated because of the situation, right? And I think you see that when Oklahoma kicks that ball off, you can tell that there is a mental focus for when they are starting games, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. But you can almost see the reins start slipping at various points of the game. And that is on coaches keeping guys engaged and keeping the intentionality on the main thing. How many times this year, and maybe this is just an observation, have we seen the defense almost turn it on and turn it off at various points, right? Where they got to have a play. RMT, when he lined up off sides, you can't do that. That is a game deciding play. But the intention was right, though. But it is, why did you wait until that possession to bring that intensity when you could have done it on the previous 2, the previous 3? So I think, and this isn't, to give a coach speak, if you will, but I think one of the biggest issues with this team is, from a coaching standpoint, being able to get it through to the players that, this sounds so cliche, but the score doesn't matter. And I think you see a team right now where the score kind of matters. The score, I think, dictates how they're playing. It dictates where the focus is. And you need a team where it does not matter offensively, defensively, well, whatever the situation is, we're going to put our best foot forward, and we're going to play with intensity and detail and create separation. That's how the Alabama teams of old did it. That's how Oklahoma teams of old did it. You're up 1 score, you're up 2 score, and then the game is put away. And we just have not seen that since Venables has been here, especially against good competition. And Tennessee is going to be, so far this year, as stiff as they face. So give me what was the line on this one, the DMAC? I actually have not checked today.
I think we're either 5.5 or 3.5 point dogs.
Okay, I thought it was 3 or 4. Okay, so
5.5. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah. So again, like all these games thus far, Oklahoma's defense is going to be good enough to keep them in it.
3.5.
3.5. Okay. So, and it probably is going to be another one that's in the high 20, low 30s, right? To me, the difference between Tennessee and Ole Miss is, I think Tennessee is, as you said, Heupel is gutsy enough and aggressive enough to take those shots. So Heupel could end up putting up a 40-piece. And then you're really talking about issues at a certain point. So I think he has the capability to do that. And that's where OU's offense, being deliberate, staying on the field, and matching what Tennessee is doing possession for possession and creating separation is going to be key. And I think in this one too, if you have turnover opportunities, you gotta intercept the ball. You gotta come down with the ball. I think that has been just such an Achilles heel for this team all season long. You have to make those plays. Even at a certain point too, it's almost like the ball stops bouncing in your favor when you don't make those, right? It's almost like the football gods say, we're not going to hand that to you. Yeah, because Ole Miss had the bobbled snap that just bounces right back up to the quarterback, and you'll have some years where those all go your way. And this has just been a season where none of those, and those are game-changing, momentum-swinging opportunities that have just not been there for Oklahoma. And I think in some of these big games, Alabama comes to mind a year ago, right, where Eli Bowen picks the ball off, takes it to the house. That game didn't really feel in doubt at that point, but that's kind of sealed the deal, right? A defensive touchdown, a special teams touchdown, actually doing something and having it pay off wins you those kind of games. So give me a score on this one, D-Mac.
So I think we're going to be good enough to take Hypo out of his comfort zone. Hype wants to score 42. Hype probably want to score 50. I believe if they're up and they have 42 and he can score another touchdown to get to half 100, he knows. I mean, Hype is a historian. Hype loved OU, bro, like hardcore. He loved it and he knew the stuff. But I think we're going to be good enough on defense. I'm going to use hopium. I hope we're going to be good enough on defense to put them in a position where 31 is enough to win. We have not scored 30 points in an SEC game since we've been in the SEC. Our highest total is 26 and a loss to Ole Miss. I believe we need to score 31 points. If we score 31 points and we have a day where they score 4 touchdowns, I think we win the game. I think we win the game. You won't get me to pick a loss, though. Hype and I ain't talking. And by the way, I'm cool with his like soul mission crew. He doesn't have a soul mission, but he has the whole athlete kind of a team. They generally ask me it's kind of cool. Like they were like, "Hey Mac, what you think? What'd you see?" Just because we talk football, and so we had those kind of X's and O conversations too. I told them, nah. They were like, "What game do you want to come to? You want to?" I said, "Hell nah, I'm not coming to that game because I will not be cheering for Tennessee unless I'm being paid. Are you guys going to pay me to put me on staff? Then I'll cheer for Tennessee." But
put on the orange. Yep.
I already got some orange, baby. I got some orange.
That's right. That's right.
I'll rock Tennessee orange. By the way, I'll rock it. If it's cold, I'm putting the Tennessee orange on. Never Texas orange, never Oklahoma State orange, but I'm rocking the Tennessee orange.
Sure.
But yeah. I think it's 31-28. I think this is a huge game for BV's psyche and for his coaching tenure. I think this is a game, and maybe it's hopium. People are going to get pissed at me for saying this, but I think this is a game that reminds people that our O-line coach is a good coach. I think the offensive line, I saw somebody put that no one's talking about our O-line versus their D-line. Their D-line is average. They've got a couple good players, but as a unit, they have stopped nobody. Can they beat you 1v1 on a passing down and get a sack? Sure, but every SEC team has those dudes.
Yeah,
LSU, Missouri,
Ole Miss Ole Miss got them.
Ole Miss, yeah, the D tackles, killers. And number one killed us all day. He got the safety. But as a unit, Tennessee is a team you should be able to run the football on. You absolutely should be able to throw the football. They've got a freshmen at corners. They've had injuries up the wazoo in the secondary. So there's opportunities there for us to win and have some success. We need our guys to show up and have some success. 31-28. Oklahoma finds a way to win, brings back the 2016 Baker Mayfield comeback. 2015. That's right. Baker's for the day Baker. What's his middle name? I like his middle name. His middle name is I forgot his middle name. Damn it! Somebody knows his middle name. But the day
Baker's yeah.
It ain't. Oh, it ain't. Oh, you said Chad.
No.
Got you.
Chad.
He's got a funny middle name. But anyway, the day Baker became one of those guys, I think this is an opportunity for BV, Arbuckle, Mateer to do so. Give me 31-28. Yep, Reagan. That's what it is. It's Reagan. 31-28. Sooners win. I get to talk shit to the guys at Tennessee. And then I go up there next week and talk to their team about some business and life after football stuff. Let's go.
Let's go, man. I'm gonna go 30-28. And this is the game where Sandell gets a game-winning field goal. I'm just gonna play full on fantasy land stuff. How cool would it be for him with the season he's had to knock down a 45-yard game-winning Neyland Stadium, quiet the crowd, shut the fans up kind of performance? OU is due a big victory. They haven't had a big one over a major team since the Bama game a year ago. you beat Auburn, you beat South Carolina. Those were cute wins. You lost to the teams that you needed to beat, right? To really impress somebody. Ole Miss and Texas, the two teams thus far who we've said, like, schedule wise, and we thought South Carolina had the potential, at least early on in the year, to be a really tough game, and ended up not being, right. So this is the back half of the schedule, and because I don't think there's going to be a lot more opportunity left, because this LSU team, with who they've got, Frank Wilson, I think, is the coach now, the interim guy. A lot of people really like him, D-Mac. And I've heard like John Blake comparisons from people who I know who are like in the LSU sphere, but also know some of the OU history. And he's going to have guys motivated. He's going to have guys caring about winning. He's not going to be a long-term solution, but OU might get to the LSU game, and LSU simplified enough stuff and have put guys in position where they're going to be a tough out. So you can't afford to all of a sudden, run off a string of losses right here. This is OU. The expectation is winning. It's not 8-4. That even though it is in the SEC. So yeah, give me a 30-28 game-winning field goal.
That would be dope.
End. That would be pretty dope, right? When's the last time? When's the last time OU had a game-winning field goal? I'm trying to think.
I think it's the kid who had the commercials. Remember, I was telling you about him last
time. Was it
Burkich?
Did Burkich did he have a game winner? Was it Baylor? Did he do it against Baylor or no? That game was, I think that was sealed already.
Oh, you talking about the Hurts game? You talking about the Hurts game? Yeah. No. It's been a while because Link either got beat or beat the brakes off, but we didn't have very many close games with Link. And then BV, I don't think we've ever had a kicker good enough to put the game in their hands until this year, who's been consistent enough. I don't think it's been a while. It's been a
minute. It might have been. Golly, I'm trying to think. Because K-State did it to Oklahoma 12 or 13 years ago. Let's see. Oh, I think it's been a second. So give me 30-28. D-Mac, as always, closing thoughts before we get out of here, brother.
This is a game I honestly don't know what to expect. I just think there's so many physical football aspects that we just don't have answers to, being the psyche of our OC, the psyche of our quarterback, the changes along the offensive front, seeing who's going to be in a position to play. I think somebody posted in the chat, which is important. I think Gentry plays. They said Gentry is probable. So if we start with Gullery and Gentry, I think that's a big plus for us, assuming Gentry is healthy and can turn and run. Our guys have to play their best football. We have to see the best rendition of our offense and defense, and our return guys and our special team crew have to play well. Big game. We win this game, I think we're back in the top 10 or 11. We lose this game, we've got a lot of things to think about. Do we have a bye after this week?
Ooh, I don't think so. We
have one more bye, but it's going to be a lot we need to win this game. It's a must-win game, and we got to win a game on the road against a quality team with a really good quarterback. I like our chances. Let's get her done.
Yeah, I have myself. Yeah, they won't play again until the 15th. So they do have a bye after this one.
That's what I thought.
So they'll play Bama on the 15th. So
sets up perfect. It sets up perfect. Win this game, 2 weeks to prep for Bama, which Bama's beatable. They can't run the football and they can't stop the run. Let's go.
OU's got the D-line. They've got the front seven, which it's just so wild and it's so frustrating because we've said it for years that teams with front sevens like that on the defensive side of the ball always have an opportunity to win games. That's why those teams like LSU in 2003, Georgia in 2017, Bama, the Auburn team. I mean, they had some good guys, but the Auburn team with like Fairley, they had just guys up front and some dudes who played in the league, and it gives you some cushion and some leeway, and you just create more negative plays. The issue is offensively, do you have enough juice to go out there and get it done. And we will see in this one. But want to thank everybody for jumping on. We will be on there, guys. Promise you, on the post game tomorrow late after the game is over. We will bring it to you immediately. What game kicks off at 7:30? So I actually don't think it kicks off to like 7. It's Eastern time. No, that's Central. 7:30, I think, is the kickoff time. So it will be. Are they wearing the dark uniforms, D-Mac?
They are black and yellow.
Okay.
Yeah, they are.
Very, very cool. Very cool. So Sooner Nation, want to thank you all for tuning in. Make sure to go over to OU Insider, OUinsider.com. Get yourself a membership. We're interacting with the guys over there. Some interesting chats, some like non-football related stuff, just to tease it out a little bit. I won't go into the details on the show. But guys, shout out to the big homie Jay, who is like in the chat occasionally. He's over there on the board. He's in the comments. He's all over the place, man. A bunch of just longtime fans of the show, guys who have interacted. Shout out to you guys. Want to thank everybody for hopping on. As always, Sooner Nation, we will see you soon.